The trail is really only made a reality through your contributions. You really join a legion of volunteers who came before you, thousands now, who together have left a legacy for all those who want to explore the North Shore. This year, we had some really impressive numbers, record-breaking numbers of volunteerism out there on the trail. And here at the Superior Hiking Trail Association, we've been listening really closely to folks' wants and needs. In the last few years, we have been able to bolster our support for the volunteer program. And one of the biggest ways that we've been able to do that is to create an additional full-time position, which is the position that Barbara Budd now holds as Volunteer and Education Coordinator. And I think with her assistance and shepherding of the volunteer program, we're heading in great direction. And tonight, I would like to just say again, thank you for all your hard work. I'm going to turn it over to Barbara and Tamara, who are going to walk you through 2022 and all the accomplishments we've shared together.
Thanks, Lisa. I think the first thing that that is the most important thing is that you are our stars. Thank you so much for being the stars of our trail, because the trail exists because of people like you. You're the heart and the soul of the SHT. And the experience of hiking the trail, even if you weren't here, would be so much more difficult. What you do keeps folks connected to nature and to each other. You're the stars of the SHT, without a doubt. Here are some of your accomplishments in 2022, and it's only some, because if I listed them all, you'd be leaving the Zoom meeting because telling me that it was taking way too long. So you all did so much, it's amazing. So just a few. First of all, our adopters, who have been at the heart of the volunteer program for as long as we've had a trail. They're usually the reason you don't get smacked in the face by brush as you hike or run, or that you can find a clean fire ring. And their reports help us triage latrine digs. The consistent and reliable impact of adopters is awe-inspiring. We're so grateful for those thousands of hours from campsite adopters, section adopters, and our trail stewardship teams. Thank you. And Tamara, are you there?
Yep, I am. Thank you.
Great.
In 2022, the Superior Hiking Trail Association once again used the new model of trail.
I'm going to jump in where Tamara cut out. Sawyer's organized their own teams of swampers. We're able to clear over 100 miles of the SHT. We do plan to return to the trail clearing weekends events of this coming season, but more likely still complete some of our trail clearing with this way for years to come, because this model of Sawyer signing up for a section and organizing their team of swampers worked so very well. 24 volunteers participated in the new Introduction to Trail Work events. These half-day events are geared toward folks who have never done trail work before. So it's a great way to get a taste of what it's like before jumping into adopting or a full day of trail renewal events. Folks did a ton of lopping, and as you can see, some digging in the mud, or as also known as drainage, right out there. So. Last year, the SHTA, with the help and leadership of Tim Malzahn, made a major push to finish the reroute, which was begun in 2019 on the Bean and Bear Loop in Silver Bay. Volunteers built about 1,500 feet of new trail and some steep terrain, and did a significant amount of stone moving and construction, ultimately moving the trail out of a muddy lowland to a higher and more sustainable location. Due to the generous support of the U.S. Forest Service, the SHTA was able to replace the bridge at Spruce Creek, which had been compromised since 2019. Volunteers took part in 2 distinct projects to replace the aging structure. The first to lay out and construct the bridge abutments, and the second to construct the bridge. The finished product is a beautiful new fiberglass bridge, which should last for many years to come. And let me out of the office for a few days last summer. I got to lead the Woods Creek reroute. Energetic volunteers built a 300-foot-long reroute along Woods Creek, where the trail had been undercut by flooding. From cutting out the corridor to digging in the tread and building turnpikes to raise the tread and moving some big rocks for a water crossing, we had a great time. The last 2 days of the Woods Creek project also sported our very first official all-women's weekend. The skills that were shared that weekend and learned by this group were tremendous, while also having a lot of fun.
I can jump in here, Barbara, if you can hear me.
Wonderful. Yes, we can hear you. That's great. Thank you.
All right. Sorry, I lost my internet there. So last year at Mystery Mountain, we partnered again with Tim Malzahn, who helped us with Bean and Bear, and also with additional support from Full Sun Services, who is our northern maintenance contractor. This project renewed close to about a quarter mile of very worn out and muddy trail in an extremely high use area near Lutsen Mountain. A mixed crew of volunteers and contractors cut, prepped, and moved material for about 250 feet of puncheon and 10 timber steps, which will be installed in 2023, and built 300 feet of elevated tread, constructed 30 linear feet of tread hardened with stone, and performed much needed maintenance, including deberming about 700 feet of tread, installing mini drains, and rebuilding 2 switchbacks.
And while the long-awaited Gooseberry reroute was completed by a contractor, the blazing was completed by volunteers. Volunteers also blazed the Bean and Bear reroute, and thanks to those folks so much, for they inevitably sacrifice at least one article of clothing to blue paint.
As many of you know, there's always a lot of work being done in Duluth, thanks to our maintenance contractor, Larry Sampson, and many dedicated and new volunteers. And 2022 was an exceptionally productive year. Just to run down kind of a list of some of the accomplishments from last year in Duluth. All the trail was cleared from the southern terminus to Reeves Road. Weed whipping, again, was taken on by volunteers. That was done from the southern terminus up to Martin Road. 4 latrines were dug and moved. A 24-inch bridge was installed on the Fond du Lac Spur over a slumping clay bank. C-steps were built at Sargent Creek, along with 2 more sets along the creek. Brewer Boardwalk project, 3 sections totaling 334 feet, plus 134 feet of rock hardening was done. The West of Green Street Boardwalk project involved several sections totaling about 300 feet with more rock hardening. There was a reroute around a beaver dam at Reservoir Road, and almost 3,000-foot reroute near Stewart Creek at the DWP connection.
Now I get the pleasure of giving something away. We're gonna give me just a second to find it. There it is. All right, you must be here to win. So if your name is here, if your name is the one that comes up and you are here, please unmute yourself and let me know you're here. Hey, Mike, I saw you.
That's
So I
right.
know you're here. Excellent. What
That's
you
right.
have won, what you have won today is a beanie, a little cooling thing for your neck. You'll love this as a trail runner, and some kind of cool swag. So we'll get that out to you very soon.
Awesome.
All right. So now we will go back to the presentation. All right. Now we've got some special thank yous. While so much of our focus is on trail maintenance volunteers, there are folks who support the trail in lots of other phenomenal ways. These volunteers are often unsung and unphotographed, but the trail would be much the worse without them. Thank you to our tireless board of directors who give so much of their time to the organization. Thank you. Thank you for all of that time. We'd be lost, and so would hikers, without our sign makers and installers. Trail store and office volunteers help staff members keep things running smoothly. Development volunteers, ambassadors, and tabling volunteers help bring new members and volunteers to the SHTA. Webinar presenters keep users informed, and we'd be a much more boring organization without the amazing photographers and designers who help us create promotional materials. Our new hard hat sticker is just one of those designs. And now we'll spotlight a couple of stellar volunteers. And I'm going to turn this over to Tamer.
Okay. We'll start with Bob Nesheim, who is retiring from section adopting this year after a long and varied career. And we're so grateful that he and his section adopting partner, Dick Elliott, will still be keeping an eye on some of the trailheads in that area. We wanted to share a couple of testimonials about Bob. And this was submitted to us from Joe Swanson, former SHTA staffer. Bob Nesheim has been one of the rare and wonderful volunteers living near his adopted section of trail. And he treated it like an extension of his backyard. His volunteer support included meticulous care of his section, which he shared with his friend and equally reliable Dick Elliott. The two of them took pride in keeping the trail in fantastic condition. If you've hiked this section, you walked by signs Bob and Dick fixed or installed, enjoyed a well-maintained trail corridor, and didn't have to crawl over lots of downed trees, all thanks to their hard work, year after year. In addition to the hands-on work, Bob Nesheim served on the SHTA Board of Directors, lending his insight and expertise to our growing organization. Even after his board term, Bob continued to contribute helpful knowledge about local forest conditions and Grand Marais going-ons. I've always welcomed seeing Bob's name in my inbox. I knew he'd be reporting something interesting or asking a great question. His reports, not only reliable, were sprinkled with a mix of expertise and humor. What a great combination. The SHTA owes Bob and Dick a great big thank you for all their years of hard work. Bob and Marlis will continue to maintain the ever popular pincushion trailhead. So if you see them, join us in saying thank you. And this
That's all true. That's all true, Tamer, except I look better than
that. Well, yeah, we should ask you for one of your favorite photos.
Yeah, there's a bunch of spruce tree just uphill from that picture on Sundling, and it was the most god-awful afternoon of my life.
Uh-oh, they're still there? Or was this years ago? We have one more memory about Bob from Denny our previous executive director. And he says, I like to think of Bob Nesheim as the sage of the SHTA. Years after leaving leadership positions, he remains tuned into everything from the use of the office space to the complicated politics of recruiting board members to the fine points of trail clearing. His wit and insights are as sharp as well-honed loppers. He nurtured the section he oversaw as a volunteer adopter like it was his backyard garden, and he suffered the ridicule of his old guy trail maintenance comrades when he brought out his electric chainsaw. Bob Nesheim is a gem. Thank you, Bob.
That goes to show that Denny will say anything for a beer.
That's probably true.
Thank you so much, Bob. Glad you're here tonight. We also want to spotlight Mariana and Gregg Westigard. I had the pleasure of getting to know Gregg and Mariana last summer when they helped every day of the Bean and Bear reroute. Gregg greeted volunteers each day, making sure they had their PPE and answering questions. Mariana cooked scrumptious dinners for the crew for almost the entire project. They really helped to make sure that the first project of 2022 went off without a hitch. I have a couple of testimonials about them too. The first from Joe Swanson again. I met the Westigards on my Ice Age Trail through hike in 2014. They were trail angels living near the IAT. I was thrilled when I learned they were moving to the North Shore. They bring extensive experience from their time volunteering with the IATA, and they bring a warmth and friendliness to any task they tackle. Their enthusiastic, welcoming nature and dedication to a job well done make them ideal volunteers. And from volunteer crew leader Steph Hoff, Gregg and Mariana have been volunteering with the SHTA since they sold their house in Polk County, Wisconsin, and moved up the shore. They've helped build tread on the Sugarloaf Reroute project and helped build the Lake Walk Boardwalk. They are always such a delight to work with and are always willing to help out wherever, whether it's on the trail, shuttling a volunteer, or helping to cook in camp. The Westigards are truly a gem to be around. And from Tim Malzahn, contractor. Working with Gregg and Mariana is an absolute pleasure. They each bring a wellspring of knowledge, cooperative spirits, and new eyes to problem solving, reimagining the familiar and making good things happen. And now, we'd like to announce our Volunteer of the Year. For people lucky enough to have worked with this volunteer, here is a small hint to his identity. Chaz Gallet is one of those unstoppable forces that make me step back in wonder. Chaz is SHTA's medical consultant, helping us with policy, making sure our AEDs are up to date and working, and helping arrange our first aid and CPR classes. Let me tell you, without Chaz, we would not have been able to host those classes the last 2 years. He was invaluable in finding both instructors and venues. And this year, he's also lending his expertise, helping to teach some wilderness components of first aid along with the basics of the instructor brings. Chaz is also the adopter of our southernmost campsite, Red River Valley. He's been a section and trailhead adopter, and he's a regular on trail maintenance events in Duluth. But his real love, in my observation, are trail registers. He designed a new register box style, and he installs them where needed every year. He makes sure we have an up-to-date list of register locations, and if he sees that a register is full, he replaces it. And he does all of these things with excellent good humor. I love a phone call from Chaz. I know I'm going to be smiling as we talk.
All right. Contractors do quite a bit of work on the trail, and volunteer hours make the trail a reality, but when you volunteer, you're actually contributing twice. For most of the grants that the SHTA receives, we match that grant by using reported volunteer hours. Grants help to the SHTA to hire contractors to tackle challenging projects and to renew additional sections of trail. So your volunteer hours are actually counting twice and help make the following projects a reality. One of the biggest and most anticipated projects in for the last couple of years has been the Gooseberry reroute. We completed it in last summer in the fall of 22, and we started it the year prior in 2021. Local Grand Marais contractors, Micah and Adam Haryu of Dirt Candy Designs, did the work on this project, and the reroute in total was just under 5 miles long, and it contains, fun fact, about 3,200 feet of puncheon, which is almost 2/3 of a mile. A lot of lumber. Next slide, please. So another pretty big contractor project we did last year was we replaced 2 sketchy and failing beaver dam crossings with wide and sturdy Wickcraft boardwalks, just like the one we installed at Sawmill Pond back in 2020. And we hope that these will be there for quite a long time. One of them was at Sunling Creek, just west of Grand Marais, and the other was at John Vic Creek, outside of Lutzen. These major projects were completed by Alex Truax and crew of Full Sun Services, our new northern maintenance contractor, who's responsible for weed whipping 200 miles of trail, clearing approximately 100 miles of trail, and digging about 25 latrines each summer. Since contracting with the SHTA, Alex has completed a number of other construction projects, including another one that he did last year, which was about 300 feet total of puncheon in about 7 different sections, and about 150 feet of elevated boardwalk on a mile-long stretch from the Caribou Trail to Lake Agnes last summer.
And I get to give a prize away again. All right, here we go again, folks. This time it is an REI day pack. Well, it's a small day pack. Here we go. And again, unmute yourself if you're here. Mark Wagner, are you here?
I am here. Thank you.
All right. So Mark, I'm going to have you stay on afterwards so that I know where to send this.
All right.
All right. And speaking of prizes, we always look for opportunities to say thank you for all you do. And now we've got one more way to share our gratitude with you. You all valiantly worked with our new registration and reporting system this past year. The result is that we're now much better than ever before able to know just how much time each of you gives to the trail. And we'd like to reward you for all of those hours. Now, I know you all do this for how great it is to give back to the trail and be part of the SHT community, but we still want to give you a few tokens of our thanks. The new award program will start with hours completed in fiscal year 2022. And let me explain that our fiscal year runs October 1st to September 30th each year. So the hours that we record are during that time period. So if you put in any hours after September 30th in 2022, they're being recorded for this year. Now, we'd love to go back and award all of the dedicated work that has come before, but unfortunately, not all of those records are complete. So we're starting fresh. And to be clear, these are based on hours worked and cumulative hours. We're grateful for all of the hours you donate in your commute to the trail, but those driving hours are counted in another way. Now, here's how the program will work. We'll have an annual sticker for everyone, which is that little 2023 sticker there that's small enough to put on a hard hat. So you can start collecting them and putting them on your hard hat. And then after the small sticker, we'll have this, and this next batch is based on cumulative hours, not how many hours you do in just 1 year. So if you are not on this list this year, you might be on it next year because you continue to put hours in. So here's what you'll start to see coming your way. At 40 hours, you'll get a hard hat with your name on it. At 75 hours, a t-shirt, like up in the right-hand corner there with SHTA volunteer on it. At 150 hours, there's a buff. That's that green volunteer buff on the left. And those are the items that we have ready this year, still to be designed. At 300 hours, a really cool lunch bag. At 600 hours, a sweatshirt, 1,500 hours, a tote, and 3,000 hours, a jacket. In addition, adopters who come back for a second year will receive either a lopper with your name on it or a small shovel with your name on it. And since most of you have been around for more than a year, we'll be giving out a lot of those this coming year. All of these things are volunteer specific, and you won't find them in our trail store. So the only way to get them is to be an SHT volunteer. 42 people earned awards this year, plus at least 100 adopter awards. If you are on the 75 hours list, remember that you earned 2 awards, both the 40 hour and the 75 one. The folks, so you earn both a t-shirt and the hard hat. The 4 folks in the 150 hours list earned all 3 awards. But again, if you're not on those lists, because the hours are cumulative, you might find yourself there next year. If you have earned a hard hat, a t-shirt, or a buff, be prepared for me to be in touch with you, or feel free to touch base with me about how we can get those things to you, whether it's on your way through to Harbors or as we meet you in another place, or even mail them out if we need to. So we'll hope to see even more folks on this list next year. And in the meantime, start collecting those stickers to put on your hard hat when you finally get it. And because the SHT is an affiliate of the North Country Trail, volunteers are also eligible for awards from the National Park Service for hours of service on the SHT. In order to receive these awards, you need to become a volunteer in parks, or a VIP, which many of you already are. We'll report all of your hours annually to the North Country Trail for these awards. And by the way, do please report your hours to the SHT, not to the NCTA, or there'll be some duplication which can cause confusion. There's more information on those awards. If you want to check out what those awards are, you can send me an email. I'm happy to send out what that information is, but they kind of nicely flip-flop with ours. So we do one at 100 and we do one at 75, they do one at 100, we do one at 150, they do one at 200, that sort of thing. But the real reason we want you to become a VIP is for your protection. If you are on the SHT main trail performing your volunteer duties as described, you are covered by the equivalent of workers' compensation by the National Park Service. I'd highly recommend that everyone become part of the VIP program to protect yourself. We're still working on the spur trails. We're hoping that they will eventually be covered as well. And now a quick preview of some 2023 opportunities.
Like always, we're going to have a bunch of really cool projects coming up this year. As you can see, this year is going to rock with tons of rock steps and crossings. Larry's back, and trail construction and maintenance in Duluth will be in full swing starting in late April or early May. Watch for registration to open in March.
There'll be a few openings in our campsite and section adopter programs, as always. And also returning is Introduction to Trail Work half-day events. Again, if you know someone who wants to get a taste of trail work, that's the opportunity for them.
Do you want to support the trail when you're not actually on the trail? Come and help out at the store and office. There's so many different ways that you can help.
And we heard you. There are a few upgrades coming to the registration system and volunteer portal this year. Soon you'll be able to register for multiple days on the same project with just one registration. And this, when we had the live the live parties, got rounds of applause. So I'm assuming some of you are applauding as well. You'll also be able to see in your portal everything that you registered for, and you can cancel. You'll be able to do that without emailing me. So for those of you who haven't yet gotten a link for a personal volunteer portal, if all you've done is sign up for group events, let me know. We'll get you a link to the portal so that you can see what you're signed up for. And here is some great news. Guided hikes are back. Our focus will be nature instead of section hikes. So there won't be any shuttling of cars. And we plan to have a master naturalist on every hike. We'll need guides, whether or not you're a master naturalist. So please let me know if you're interested in being a guide for the guided hikes.
We will be hosting 2 volunteer clearing weekends this year in May of 2023. A southern event based out of Corky, which is in between Duluth and Two Harbors, and then a northern one, which will be at the Finland Rec Center. These events were pre-pandemic favorites, so sign up soon to reserve your spot. Since we may still need to clear more sections than we can get done during these 2 weekends, we will likely also be using the same system we have been using the last 2 years, where individual sawyers claimed a section and were responsible for recruiting help and clearing on their own time. Due to high winds that we had this winter, we anticipate a higher than average amount of clearing.
Another new volunteer opportunity for folks who love being on trail and talking with people, but don't necessarily want to swing a tool. We're going to need intercept survey volunteers to work at specific trailheads and on trail to approach people with a short questionnaire so that we have a better understanding of the demographics of our trail users. And also this year are 3 corridor clearing and blazing weekends. These new opportunities will target areas where we have serious brushing issues and where blazing needs to be refreshed. And another pretty cool thing this year, we are hoping to offer dinners on every multi-day project. In order to do that, we will need a few cooks. And so this is a great way to support the crews that are maintaining the trail. But during the day, you could go for a hike or just to relax in camp. Or if you wanted to do a half a day of trail work, you could certainly do that as well. We'd also like to expand our group of volunteer crew leaders. If you're an experienced volunteer and would like to know more about this opportunity, please let me know. If you've indicated interest before, but you haven't heard back from us, don't hesitate to reach out again now when we're moving this program forward a little more. Just to let everybody know, we are not looking for people who know everything about the technical aspects of trail work. We're looking for folks who can make other people feel welcome, keep everybody safe, and teach what you do know. And anything you don't know, we will help you learn so that you can then teach that as well.
You can find out more about all of these opportunities at our 2023 Volunteer Opportunities webinar, which is scheduled for March 21st. Registration is open now on the volunteer page of our website. Registration for all other events will start to open in March. We have some other folks to thank as well. We could not do this work without some truly excellent partners. If you're here tonight from a partner agency, please introduce yourself in the chat. And we'd like to say thank you to the following partner organizations: the U.S. Forest Service, Minnesota DNR Parks and Trails, National Park Service, the North Country Trail Association, City of Duluth, Carleton County, St. Louis County, Lake County, and Cook County.
Thank you to businesses that provided coffee and food for our in-person parties. Duluth Coffee Company and Super One donated things to our Duluth area party, and Caribou Coffee donated to our Twin Cities party. Thank you also to Jennifer Anderson, who designed the cool hard hat stickers, the ones that you haven't seen those yet. You'll see them when you come out on events. They're really cool hard hat stickers. And the new volunteer interest cards, which you also have not seen, also coming out on events. So please let me know if you'd like some of those, if you want to know what they look like, that sort of thing. Hang out afterwards. I'll bring them up after I stop recording, and you can see what those are. And thank you to those who helped make our volunteer program possible: REI, the Lloyd K. Johnson Foundation, Minnesota Power, and most of all, SHTA members, donors, and volunteers like you. This ends our presentation. If you have any questions, just hang out. I'm going to turn off the recording and we'll all be able to visit and that sort of thing. So good evening, and we'll see you on the trail again soon.
Hey, Larry, thanks so much for all summer. I'm looking forward to next summer. I'm gonna be there for you. This is Bonnie.
Hey, Larry.
Woo!